Okay, welcome back. This is still Lesson 18, Part 2. We had left off right here on this part of the guided notes on evaluating expressions, so I'll just pick up where we left off. Hopefully you saw the last video. Evaluate x minus y if x equals 2/3 and y equals 3/4. So now we start to realize that evaluate kind of means plug and chug, right? Good old plug and chug. So we're just going to take 2/3 and plug it and replace. I like to think of it more as replacement. I'm going to replace x with 2/3 and I'm going to replace y with 3/4, and voila. Now I've got to think about how I'm going to subtract them. Well, they need the LCD. They need the least common denominator. Well, 3 and 4 both go into 12. So when you get comfortable, you'll start to be able to look at it and say, look, I know the LCD is 12. Now I'm going to transform both of these fractions into something out of 12. Now I'll do this in another color. Okay, think about it like this. Boop, 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 boop. How does 3 become 12? Times by 4, right? So whatever you do to the bottom, you better do to the top. So if you're going to multiply the denominator by 4, multiply the numerator by 4, you got 8. I'll say that again. You have to transform those fractions by multiplying by something, right? It's kind of like, how does 4 become 12? Times by 3, right? So if I'm going to multiply the denominator by 3, I better multiply the numerator by 3 to keep it legal. So 3 times 3 is 9. All right, now I've arrived at 8/12 minus 9/12. Well, hey, same denominator. Travel straight across on the numerator. 8 minus 9, which is clearly -1. So I arrive at -1/12. And by now, I'm assuming that you're comfortable with signs. 8 minus 9, the larger number is negative. And the difference between 8 and 9 is 1, but the larger number is negative, so it's going to be -1. Okay, now something to bear in mind. Now that we know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions and perform powers of fractions and our negative signs, it's going to be our goal very shortly to be able to perform PEMDAS with fractions. So what I want something like this to be your goal. And we're not going to go there on this video, but -2/3 cubed divided by 1/2 plus 2 times this, you should be able to tackle something like that in the near future. Even now, we have enough skills to do that. Okay, but this is just, you can play with that if you like. We're not really going to work on PEMDAS in this video. That's coming down the pipeline. Okay, but I would like to work on solving equations containing fractions. We can use the least common denominator to help us clear or get rid of fractions. But first I'm going to solve this problem without clearing the fractions. Then I'm going to talk about how to do that. So we know that to isolate x, to solve for x, we're going to add 1/3. That's called the add-up property of equality. So we're going to add 1/3 to the other side. So x is whatever 5/12 plus 1/3 is. And clearly we'd need the LCD. So 12 is the LCD. So 5/12 plus something over 12. So we have to convert 1/3 to something over 12. Well, gee, that will be 4/12, right? Because how does 3 become 12? Times by 4, and then you have to multiply the numerator by 4, so you're going to get 4/12. So you'd have 5/12 plus 4/12, which makes 9/12. And 9/12 clearly reduces to 3/4. So I have the final answer snipped in. Now you see how I arrived at 3/4. But what I'd really like to sell you on is this. If the idea of solving equations that contain fractions is not appealing to you, there's a way to get rid of them. So let's try this next one together. Let's try using the LCD. And I'm going to write here, use LCD to try to clear the fractions. So here's the gimmick. I really would like to sell you on this because it'll make your life easier. Just pick the LCD of all the denominators in the problem. All right, well, clearly all of these numbers go into 15. So 15 divide into 15 evenly. So 15 is the LCD. All you have to do is send 15 through to all the numerators in the problem, and poof, the whole thing's going to clear up. So let's see how that works in real time. So via multiplication, meaning with multiplication, you're going to send that LCD through to numerators only. To numerators only. That's big. Okay? All right, I'll do the mental math with you. 15 times -1 is clearly -15, but it's on top of 3, and clearly that's going to become -5. Hold that thought. Try again. 15 times 2x is, and we'll just hold this minus connector there, just write that. 15 times 2x is 30x, but it's on top of 5. So that's going to clean. I'll even hold the cleaning for a moment. 15 times 2 is clearly 30, but that's on top of 3. So it's going to clean up. So notice you only multiply through to the numerator. 15 times x is 15x, but that's on top of 15. So when you do all that cleanup, I mean, look at that. 5 goes into 30 6 times. 3 goes into 30 10 times. Your fractions are going to go away. And voila, we're left with -5 minus 6x equals 10 plus 15 over 15 is 1, right? So you could say 1x or you could just say x. And voila, we now have an equation that doesn't have any fractions in it. And it's going to be easy to solve. Just get the letters on the left, numbers on the right, balance it out like we've been doing for quite some time. So again, letter, we want your variables on the left. So I'm going to subtract off x. -6x minus x makes -7x. We can just bring down the -5. Now we want, this is a number, so we want to bring it across the equal sign to be with the other number. So you add 5, so we're back to balancing equations again. So now we have -7x equals 10 plus 5, which is 15. And so you arrive at x equals 15 over -7. So you arrive at that answer. And what's neat is what we did is we cleared fractions. Once you clear the fractions from the problem, it's easier to operate, it's easier to balance the equation. Now I do want to show you something cool, which is Wolfram Alpha. You can feed an equation like this into Wolfram Alpha and it'll solve it for you, which is nice at midnight when you just want to check your answer, right? So I'm going to feed this original equation. Hold that. I'll hit pause. Okay, so check this out. I know you'll love this. You know, it's the age of technology, so it is nice to have a website or something that can check you. So all I did was I went to wolframalpha.com, and you'll see this little window that pops up. And you can see what I typed in. I just typed in the original equation. Let me show you. Let me bring it back to the original equation here. So I typed in the original equation, which was -1/3 minus 2. And look at how I typed it in. You know, a computer is fussy with parentheses, so do look at how I typed it in. I just hit solve this, and I just hit enter, and poof, look at that. Result. It solves it for you, and if you have the paid version, it'll even give you the step-by-step solution. Now some people say, hey man, that's cheating, you just typed in an equation and had it do it for you. Right, no, I was only just checking the answer, right? We know how to solve it without the computer. We just did it. So it's just nice that here it is. So we see -15/7, and we see Wolfram Alpha produced the same thing, -15/7, and that makes our life a little better. But we see we have a nice check there. So I just wanted to make you aware of that site. So if you are, it is midnight and you're trying to do your homework or you have questions, it's just a great little crutch is all it is. Okay, and I believe, yep, that's it for that podcast. So do encourage you to try to work that technique that I just told you about sending the LCD through to all the numerators and clearing the fractions out as we did. And we ended up, the big thing is we ended up right here with an equation that didn't have any fractions in it anymore. Okay? Maybe you want to hit pause and return to that equation and see if you can do it on your own. Okay, good luck out there.